All right, man, I still remember the look on her face. Not of anger, not sadness, pure disappointment. I couldn't get it up, and that was the night everything changed. And we got a little story time to get into, and basically, man, you read the title, so that is 100% accurate. But to get right into it, pretty much this was a situation where, man, we're taking it back to when I was in school, right? And I'm in school and I'm seeing this person now. Basically, I was on Instagram a lot, you know. I used to grow Instagram pages, so my personal, my own personal Instagram was doing pretty good as well. You know, a lot of people showed love on the posts and all that type of stuff. And I remember just one day I get a DM from somebody on this Instagram, right? And I remember it was like it was yesterday. I was in school. I looked at the DM. It's like, "Oh, you're glowing." And then I look at the picture, and it was someone that went to the same school. So I'm like, "Oh, this is crazy. Like that's kind of fire." Like I just basically gotta, someone was showing some interest. You know, I'm brand new in school. I believe I had just started. So, and again, this is college, right? So, it's one of those situations where you're excited to get into things. The environment is brand new. And basically, I remember, right? We started talking a little bit in the DMs, and we eventually linked up, and it was good vibes. But keep in mind, I'm thinking about this the entire time, right? And I'm trying to extend the time that it is that, I'm saying, things kind of go a little further, because I know in the back of my mind, right, someone who's struggling with, right, lust and the corn and all that type of stuff, it's like I knew that there was a good chance that I may have an issue performing, right? And then in that case, I want to extend it as long as possible. So honestly, like, some weekends we wouldn't link up, but it was always cool. Like, it was super chill, laid back, and I really enjoyed the time. But basically, right, as a couple dates went by, and one of my favorite spots, Dave and Buster's run, that was always fun to do, right? But just cool fun. And I could tell, like, she was really, really interested in me. But I knew in the back of my mind as well that I knew I still had this problem, right? Because the corn was still going on, right? And I knew I couldn't even go that many days, right? And in the past, I had an experience that wasn't good, which it just put a lot of negativity in my mind. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to try to keep this streak going, right? So I started one, and I have so much motivation to keep this streak because of her, right? And, you got to use what type of motivation you have, right? So I remember every day, it's like, I remember even going to bed one night, and I was just fighting, trying to make sure I was on point, not relapsing and all that type of stuff. And then eventually, right, we get to a point to where I believe it was around 20 days, 20, 21 days, or it might have been 14. I always confuse the two numbers, right? But around there. And basically, we end up, trying to go get some food. We're going for pizza. And it's crazy because knowing what I know now, not the move at all, right? But anyway, we end up going for that food. And then, we end up taking it back to my spot. And basically, I even tell my roommate, I'm like, all right, I had a roommate at the time too, so I'm like, all right, what I'm saying? I might have some company over, clear things out, all that, right? And me knowing in the back of my head, I'm still kind of nervous because I'm like, yo, am I going to be able to make this happen or not? And basically, things kind of progress for eating, things kind of get into it. And long story short, like I said, I saw the look on her face, right? I couldn't perform. And, right, the arousal, even like, limp, basically limp. I got, a little bit up there, but for the most part, it was limp, right? And then, to be honest, she was disappointed, but she didn't really, like, press the issue or, like, make it a huge problem. I remember brought her downstairs, and then boom, that was it. And in the back of my head, I remember, I'm like, yo, that's probably the last time I'm going to see her, because, man, that's the second time that happened to me, and I already knew that basically, you know what I'm saying? If you can't get it done in that category, there's a good chance that, you know what I'm saying, you could get ghosted. So basically, we were texting on Snapchat a little bit as well, and something along the lines of, you know, oh, will we see each other again or something like that? And she said yes, right? And I was like, oh, I'm surprised. Like, I'm surprised that whatever she would kind of move like that. But the texting, right? And it was a little funny. It was a little off, right? And then eventually I got left on delivered. Not even on delivered, left on red. I remember in Snapchat it shows you the bubble and it shows you like the triangle that's pretty much open. And at that point, that was one of the most pivotal events, canon arc events that happened in my life, because at that point what it was saying was basically you're not good enough, right? You're not on point. You don't have everything together. And I kind of looked at it and basically, you know, I looked at it like, man, like I was frustrated. I was upset at the time. I was even kind of blaming her, like, yo, that's crazy. Like, you know, you could just kind of dip like that. Like, to me, that was kind of wild. Like, somebody who, you know, like, you're basically in contact with all the time, and then someone dips, it's like, yo, like, man, it kind of hurts, right? So, boom, that's a canon event. And the reason why I say that is because the energy that you get from that is so crazy. Like, and what I can't sugarcoat it all. Like, it's pretty much like you get a certain type of motivation from that like it's hard to even put in words. And a lot of people know like heartbreak, and that was really the first or few times that something like that had happened, right, to me. And bro, that type of motivation, literally I remember, and it was during COVID too. So basically that happened, COVID happened, and then everyone got sent home from school, or pretty much, right, things weren't as lit. So basically my environment changed and then I was basically at home just like, man, what am I going to do with all of this? Like, I'm so frustrated, I'm mad at her. And it's crazy because at the end of the day, like, you control your own actions, so it was really my fault. But I took that energy, and I remember one of my friends had told me, you know, about a certain business model. I'm not even gonna get into the business model or anything like that, but basically I took all of that energy and I worked on the business every single day. And I worked out just about every single day. And I gotta give her credit because at the time, man, I was in a lot of like pain from that. I was like, man, like, you could do this to me. Like, like I'm laughing at it, but at the time I was really like, it really put me in a position to where I'm like, wow, like, it's just crazy how, you know, like, you could talk to someone one day and then the next day they're gone. But it taught me a valuable lesson in just being on point with who you are and your habits. And a lot of things will come to light if you're not on point. And I started just working on the business, right? And that's all I did. So pretty much, right? And of course, you know, the Rona is going, so you really can't do that much, right? So basically, it was a couple of things. It was working out, working on the business, and I mean, school. I think school was still going on, yeah, at the time. So that was all I did every single day. And when you have that singular focus too, what happens is you tend to have better results. So when you're focused on, you know, one business model, and that's all you do, man, I was so focused every single day, and I knew that if I just work every single day and I grind it out, I know I can at least make something happen. I might not be able to be super successful or whatever. I'll say it. It was another YouTube, right? So I was just going hard on the channel, grinding, right? Posting every single day. And, you know, eventually what's kind of crazy is I ended up generating, and you see the dollar amount there, I ended up generating, right, pretty much 6+ figures from that YouTube channel. That was purely from that emotion that I took and that energy, and I used it as fuel. And it's super important to be able to use that energy, because bad things are going to happen, but it's about how you respond to those situations. And I mean, that channel is, you know, still up and live. I don't post on it, you know, a ton, But that's just the story of how you can almost take, bad things that happen in your life and transform them, use that energy for something good, positive. And it really changed my life because it opened my eyes up to the possibilities of someone even being able to make money outside of a job. The fact that, you know, I can gain an audience from the words that I say and use my voice to influence people. There's a lot of times where people have these ideas as well that they can't do something, or they can't, make this happen or that happen. Their situation is always going to be the same. Especially even me, especially with, the corn and all that type of stuff. Man, a lot of times I didn't even think it was possible to ever get to a point to where, I was kind of on point. But that's how I started learning about these different methods. And, if you're dealing with the PIED, right, the corn-induced ED, and you need help, you want to fix for good, use the link down below, book a free call, and let's see exactly how I can help you. But man, that's the video.